The 2025 World Series has reached its breaking point as the LA Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays will face off in a winner take all Game 7 to decide who will take home baseball's greatest honors. It's been a phenomenal series up to this point in time, and it's something that a lot of people will remember and will talk about for years to come. And I'm filming this video a few hours before Game 7 happens, but I wanted to highlight how incredible this series has been from a historical to a fan to a entertainment point of view. And I just want to kind of break things down as to what we've seen within the past week between these two organizations. So I hope you can stick around and I hope you enjoy. And let's get right into it. I did a preview video on the World Series this year, and it was really interesting because we have the Blue Jays and Dodgers, who were two organizations looking in very different directions at the start of the season in spring training, and they're the two teams that end up making it to the very end. This World Series has a lot of implications for both teams. The Dodgers have been expected to try and repeat again this year after winning it all last year, and it's not surprising that a lot of people jumped on the Dodgers bandwagon this year considering the star-studded lineup they have. And the Blue Jays, on the other hand, have become more of this really kind of cool feel good story where you've got a bunch of guys from various levels of skill and success in the big leagues, and they've all sort of come together to create this magical run in the postseason this year. They've created this very interesting series with the Dodgers that a lot of people kind of thought that the Dodgers would probably win in a sweep or in 5 games, and the Jays are now here in Game 7. Looking at these two teams, I really just want to look into how this series has developed for both of them and what implications it has moving forward. For the Dodgers, the expectation was that they would win the World Series, so I think from a celebratory point of view, if they were to win Game 7, I don't think that the celebration would be as ecstatic as if it was for Toronto, because for the Dodgers, this was their expectation, was to win the World Series. If they had lost this series, whether it was sooner or if they end up losing Game 7, then it would feel like a disappointment because they didn't achieve their primary goal. On the other hand, if the Blue Jays end up winning it all, then this would cap off what has been, I would say, a baseball renaissance in Canada, in that the team has had this resurgence that really no one's really seen before, and it's captured the attention of everyone in the country. So it would just be icing on the cake for them if they end up winning the World Series and get the job done in Game 7. So you have very different storylines for the expectations of these two teams, and one of them is playing with house money while one of them is trying to meet the standard that they have been pressed into since the start of this year. From a historical lens, this series has been absolutely ridiculous. We have seen records being written and rewritten over the course of the last week or so. And in case if you don't believe me, give me about 2 minutes. I'm going to go through as many records as I possibly can here. Starting in Game 1, Trey Savage, he became the youngest pitcher to pitch a Game 1 of the World Series since the 1960s. Alejandro Kirk became the first Mexican-born player to hit a home run in the World Series, and Addison Barger hit the first ever pinch hit grand slam in World Series history. In Game 2, Yoshinobu Yamamoto put on a pitching masterclass as he threw a complete game for the Dodgers and became the first man since Curt Schilling to record back-to-back complete games in the postseason. By the way, Curt Schilling did that in 2001 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Game 3, which was the first game in LA, was an absolute marathon. It took 18 innings and over 6.5 hours for this game to be completed, which made this one of the longest games in postseason history, and it ends up finishing on a Freddie Freeman walk-off in the 18th inning, which makes Freddie Freeman the first ever player to hit multiple walk-off homers in the Fall Classic. Of course, this is his second one. He hit a legendary walk-off grand slam in the World Series in 2024 against the Yankees. And Shohei Ohtani in this game also reached base 9 times, making him the first man to do that since 1942. In Game 4, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. broke the Blue Jays' all-time record in the postseason for most home runs hit by a player, in which he took Shohei Ohtani deep in that game, and the Jays were able to tie up the series again. And Game 5, we saw Trey Savage putting in another brilliant performance. He became the first pitcher in World Series history to throw 12 strikeouts and no walks in an outing in the World Series, and he broke the all-time record by a rookie pitcher when it comes to strikeouts in the World Series, breaking a record that dated as far back as 1949. That was recorded by Don Newcomb. Game 6 was also a pretty good performance. It was a really tight game. Another great performance by Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and the Dodgers were able to tie up the series again, which has brought us to this pinnacle Game 7. All of these records are impeccable on their own terms, and they are just an added layer to why this series has been so incredible and so fun to watch. And personally, I think that whether you are a Dodgers fan or a Jays fan, or even if you're like a neutral or a casual who's just watching this series because of the hype around it, I think that everyone should take a moment to really smell the roses and just look around and enjoy the experience, because I'm not sure if we're going to get a World Series as entertaining as this one for a while. Obviously, depending on who wins Game 7, that will be how this series gets determined. If the Dodgers end up winning it, then it will just be another chapter of their storied history, and also a representation of how a team with a lot of money and some deep investment from ownership could basically buy your way to a championship. But if the Blue Jays win, it would be a story for the ages, sort of like a Cinderella run that no one really expected, and it basically caught everyone's attention. A lot of narratives could be drawn out from this series alone. So, with all that being said, I hope you really get to enjoy Game 7, whoever type of fan you are, and really take in the moment and appreciate what we have right now, because I don't know if we're ever going to see this again. But all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this one, and I'll see you next time.